Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Career Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Brittany Avila. Today's episode features Claudio Reilsono, a professional baseball scout, head baseball coach at Carnegie Mellon University, and author of a new book that he wrote during quarantine called Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up: How to Create a Winning, Positive Culture on the Field and in the Office. He's also a podcast host. He's interviewed sports legends. He hosts a TV show, a co-host of a TV show. What you'll find from this episode is he has done a wide variety of things, constantly mixing up, trying to be somewhere in the baseball world, but also essentially just trying to maintain his interest and keep doing whatever is exciting at the time. And so he offers a lot of advice on how to overcome pitfalls in your career. He talks about a time where he didn't quite get the jobs that he wanted to and was struggling and how to come out of that. We talk a lot about how to continue moving on your career journey, no matter what's happening, whether it's good or bad. How do you keep going? And so this episode just is packed with tons of great stories, advice, all kinds of things. So please enjoy Claudio Reilsono. Hey everyone, welcome to the Career Journey Podcast, where we explore exciting careers and how to get them from the people who've lived it. I'm your host, Dr. Brittany Avila. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy. So then we'll just start at the beginning. I usually start with asking if you had any idea of what you wanted to do professionally when you were a kid. Did you have any dreams?
I did, Brittany. As a matter of fact, August 19th, 1973, I can be exact about it.
Oh, wow.
I went to my very first Pittsburgh Pirate game. My parents were from Italy. They liked boxing and soccer, so nobody spoke about baseball. But my uncle used to work at Three River Stadium, which is where the Pirates and Steelers used to play. And he took me to my first game. And I remember, again, I was 8 years old. I remember driving up close to Three River Stadium, and I'd never seen anything so big in my life. And I just couldn't take my eyes off the place. Then he took me inside. He worked at a place called the Allegheny Club, which was a restaurant / like a country club type place inside the stadium where you could have dinner and watch the game. So I remember going up the elevator, and I can still smell that scent, believe it or not. And we got up to the third floor, and I remember seeing all these pictures. The first picture was a picture of Roberto Clemente, which I still have a bunch of them here in my office. But anyway, I remember seeing that picture of him and then seeing all these other pictures of all these athletes. And I didn't know who they were. And then I kept walking down the hallway, and I saw through this big glass window the baseball field and how green it was and how huge it was, right? It was a 58,000 seat stadium. Then he takes me downstairs to the locker room, and I saw all these guys wearing these bright white uniforms. They were big guys, obviously, to me, and they were having fun and playing, and they were talking to me and asking me questions. I didn't know who they were, but they were the 1973 Pittsburgh Pirates. Then I kind of snuck off, and I went onto the field by myself. And the only people who were on that field were me and the grounds crew. And this place was 58,000 seats, and I just was mesmerized by everything. So I loved the atmosphere. I loved how I was feeling. And this is before the game even started. And then I went back upstairs and had lunch because it was a Sunday and watched the game. And I remember coming home, and my dad asked me, "Did you have a good time?" And I said I did. But I think I want to know what I want to do with the rest of my life. He said, "What's that?" I said, "I want to be a professional baseball." And again, 8 years old, he could have laughed and said, "Yeah, okay." But he said, "Okay, if that's what you want to do, then me and your mom will do everything we can to make your dreams come true, give you every opportunity to make your dreams come true." And Brittany, I got to be honest. And my mom said, yeah, we'll be there to support you all the way. Now, and I got to be honest with you, they were always there. They kept their promise. They kept their word, and they did everything humanly possible for me to be able to be doing what I'm doing today. And I wouldn't have the life that I have today if it wasn't for my parents. And a few years ago, I was lucky enough to win a Coach of the Year award. And I said, the first thing I said was, if you ever see a turtle on top of a fence post, you know he didn't get there alone. And wherever it is I'm at, if it wasn't for my parents, it would not have happened, for sure.
So what was your next steps then? If you wanted to be a professional baseball player, how'd you kind of get to where you are?
Well, I was a good player. I was blessed with a good arm. I could hit. I could play multiple positions. I could run pretty good. And I had a good playing career. My size didn't help too much. 5'6.5" on a good hair day. But I had a few tryouts. Two of them, I was hurt, but that's okay. I didn't do real well at the tryout. The third tryout, I was completely healthy. I trained a lot. I was running with ankle weights. I was throwing a 13-pound weight, throwing it, picking up, throwing it, and picking it up. I was going to the batting cages all the time. Then my dad would hit me fly balls, and I would also go to my old elementary school, and I would get rocks, pebbles, put them on the asphalt, and I throw a lacrosse ball against the wall to work on my reaction time. So I was really ready. I go to the tryout, and I remember running the 60, and the scouts went 7.0 and under for your 60 time. And I was running, and I always did about a 6.98, 6.99, maybe 7. But that day I'm running, and I felt like I could actually see my fists pumping. Now my last tryout was in 87, I believe, 86, 87. And I could actually see my fists pumping. So that was 33 years ago. I still remember it. And I'm saying, what the heck? And it seemed like it was an 80-yard sprint, not a 60 yards. So I didn't do very well. I don't even know what I ran. I just know I didn't do well. So then I said, well, I'll show off my arm. I have a really good arm. I'll show off my arm. So they put me in right field to throw the ball to third base. So I get it, and I threw it, and it kind of made a weak one hop to third base. And I'd never forget. I went like this to shake my arm, like, come on, wake up a little bit. The second throw took 2 bounces, and it rolled. Yeah.
No.
And the third throw, I think it's still rolling. Okay. After all these years, it still hasn't gotten to the base. So I said, what the hell's wrong? What's going on? And I did so bad, Brittany, that they didn't even ask me to hit. And that was my best thing. And I'll never forget. I remember being in the outfield when they didn't call my name. And I had a smile on my face, but I wasn't happy. I don't know why I was smiling. And I said, it's over. I was 22 at the time, soon to be 23, I guess. And I said, how am I going to go home and tell my parents that all the support, all the belief they had in me was for naught? And then all the people who made fun of me, mostly my relatives, saying I wasn't going to achieve anything in baseball, telling me to quit baseball, grow up and be a man, get a real job, quit buffaloing yourself, quit buffaloing your parents, be realistic, constantly. And that motivated me, but I had to go home and face the music. So I remember going home and just telling my parents, I just didn't do too well today. And they said, that's okay, next time. Well, I knew there wasn't going to be a next time. But I didn't have the heart, and I never told anybody this part of it. I didn't have the heart to tell them there wasn't going to be a next time. So you're the first person I ever said this to. First show. But then my old high school coach, Rich Woznicki, said, you know what? You've already put 5 years in as an assistant volunteer with me here at my old high school, Quaker Valley. So why don't you just come on as an assistant? I said, okay. But then unfortunately, he got into a car accident. And he had to miss a year. Well, then I slid in to be the interim head coach. I was 23. I was the youngest coach around. Now I'm one of the oldest ones. But so when I got that job, Brittany, I got bit by the coaching bug and absolutely loved it. So I said, okay, so if I can't make it professionally as a player, maybe somehow I got to get those 3 letters next to my name. And that was pro. And it took a while, but in January of 2001, and I'm sure we'll get into that, I did get those 3 letters when I became a professional baseball scout and a general manager of the Global Scouting Bureau. And I've had several, not to jump around, but I've had several opportunities to coach professionally since 2001, and I've turned them all down because I like the way I have it now. I like my life the way it is, and I didn't want to move all over the country and or move out of the country. I had offers to coach in Italy. I had offers to coach in California, Florida, Georgia, I think Louisiana, Colombia. I could have gone Puerto Rico, but I made the right decision in being the way I'm doing it. But again, it'll be 20 years in January that I got my call to be a professional baseball scout.
Nice. And if I can back up just a little bit, in all the hindsight you have now, do you have any ideas or hypotheses about what kind of went wrong that day?
Sugar Ray Leonard, the Hall of Fame boxer, said one time after a fight, he picked a bad day to have a bad day. I picked a bad day to have a bad day. I think looking back on it, though, I think what it was, to be more specific, is I tried too hard. I remember going to, my mom had passed. Well, no, she hadn't passed yet. I take that back. She passed a year later. But I put so much pressure on myself to succeed because I wanted to make my parents proud of me. And I also wanted to shut people up. I didn't think about money back then at all. I think about it now, but I didn't think about it back then.
The ignorance.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Plus, all the bricks were on my parents' shoulders. I didn't have any bills, right? Or car repairs or whatever else. So, I put too much pressure on myself. And when you do that, you tighten up and you try too hard. And I looking back, I think that's what it was. So I picked a bad day to have a bad day. Plus, I just tried too hard. I tried to force the issue. Instead of running a 6.9 60, I try to run a 6.4 60. And instead of trying to throw a straight shot to third base, I wanted to break the glove off the guy. And when you do that, you tense up. And I just bombed. But looking back on it, I'm glad things went the way they did. I really am. I'm just glad. I'm sure we'll get into it, but things went as they should.
Right. And then you were saying that you got bit by the coaching bug once you kind of slid into that coaching role. Can you walk us through a little bit about that process and kind of what got you so excited and into coaching?
Well, I had always looked up to coaches. I grew up with my dad grew up with a guy named Chuck Knox, who grew up in our hometown of Swickley. He grew up with my dad, as I said, and Chuck was like an uncle to me. He used to come to our house in the summer before his season was started. It was like a holiday. And he coached the Los Angeles Rams, the Buffalo Bills, Seattle Seahawks, and back to the Rams. So I always had Chuck to look up to. Then another guy who was a friend was Jim Valvano. I don't know if you ever heard of Jim. Jim had unfortunately, the famous speech, the Jimmy V speech, Cancer Fund on ESPN, the Never Give Up speech. I'm sure you've seen it. Jim had a ton of impact in my life. And so let's just say those two guys, I studied them, and a guy named Doug Collins, who used to coach the Chicago Bulls and Pistons and 76ers. So I studied a lot of coaches. And then when I got to coach myself, and now John Calipari coaches Kentucky, so I had a lot of guys to look up to. And I really enjoyed it. I got a big thrill out of it. It was exciting. And then I had a great team to coach that year at Quaker Valley. Again, I was 23. They're 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, And then from there, I went to coach college ball, which I'm doing now at Carnegie Mellon, with a few stops in between. But I just like the challenge. I like the emotion of it. I like the idea that you either win or lose, and that you were not in charge of people, but you were put in a position where you could have impact on people. And Valvano used to say that his favorite word in the English dictionary was the word impact. And so many people have had impact in my life, and I wanted to have impact on people. And that was very important to me. And that was one of the ways I could have impact on people, was through coaching. And I told you I wrote a book that just came out. And in the back of the book, I have several players, about 20 some odd players, give me testimonials for the book. And I was blown away by the kind things that they said of me as a person and as a coach. So I guess I had some impact on him, which is, as I said, very important to me. But the actual emotion of the game. I mean, I played hard and I loved playing and I gave it everything I had. But to be honest with you, and I never said this either, I never thought about it, but I was more drained after a coaching game than I was after a playing game. I just poured myself into it. Vince Lombardi used to say the greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in victory. The second greatest feeling in the world is to lie exhausted in defeat. And every game I'm exhausted, drained. But I love that.
And where did you go after that first coaching gig? Or how did you kind of transition from that first coaching experience to your next step?
Sure. Well, as I said, my first 5 years, I started at 18, coaching, volunteer assistant, while I was still playing. And then I got the head coaching job in 1988 when I was 23. Then Coach came back, and I became his assistant again, which, to be very honest with you, was hard. That's like you drinking ice cold water, then you go to tap water, But I still did my job. But then in 1989, I was an assistant coach at Penn State Beaver, which is right down the road. But then in 89, I took a jump up and I coached college Penn State Beaver, a branch campus of Penn State. Then I became the head coach in 1990, and we won a college championship that year. As a matter of fact, that day that we won was October 8th, which was my dad's birthday, but also the 2-year anniversary of my mom passing. And then from there, I went on to Community College Beaver County as an assistant, then as a head coach. Then in 94, I became the assistant coach, Division I, Duquesne University, for 2 years. Then I left there, and I just wasn't a good fit. The players were fantastic, but the coach and I just, we were different people. We were different coaches, and to say it nicely. And then I was out of coaching for a couple of years. And then in 99, I got a job coaching at Quigley Catholic High School for a whopping $800 a year. But I absolutely loved it. I was there for 2 years. And my dad said, you treated that job as if it were the Yankees. In other words, I bloomed where I was planted. So my career was up and down. It was climbing up pretty quick, 23 years old, coaching high school, coaching college, head coach, championship, back down to assist. It was up and down. Then I disappeared. Then, $800 a year is not that. I was pretty far away from my dream of being in professional baseball. And, then you heard the negative comments. You heard the people making fun of you and stuff like that. And let me go back. The people who were criticizing me and making fun of me or whatever, it isn't that they didn't, especially the family members, it isn't that they didn't think I was good enough. They just didn't want it to happen, for whatever reason, they just didn't want it to happen. But anyway, so I got the job at Quigley. I was coaching there for 2 years, as I said. Then in 99, November of 99, my wife and I were going to go to watch, one of my best friends, Vinny Paz. He's a former 5-time world champion boxer. We were going to go watch him fight at Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut. So I was going to get some reading material, and I saw the Sports Weekly, and there was an ad in the back, a very small ad for players to play in Europe, baseball players. So I said, well, I can speak Italian, so maybe I can help in some way. It's okay. So I contacted the company, the Global Scouting Bureau, when I came back from Connecticut. And I contacted the owner of the company named James Gamble from November of 99 till January of 2001. He called me. I called him at least twice a month and an email once a month. So I just bombarded him with contacts, right? Or connections. Then in January of 2001, I'll never forget, he called me and his exact words were, Claudio, don't do backflips, but I have a job offer for you. And it was a lot of money, and it was a managerial position. And my head, I was going to have a baby here in May. My wife and I were going to have a baby in May, and just, it was just a great opportunity, Brittany. And then all of a sudden he said, it's in Italy. I said, okay. I said, can I call you back? He said, what? I said, can I call you back? He said, Claudio, you've been calling me or contacting me several times a month for over a year. I'm giving you an opportunity of a lifetime. And you want to call me back? I said, yeah, so I'll talk it over with my wife and with my dad, and I'll get back to you. How long do I have? He said, well, I need to know pretty soon. I said, okay. Well, I didn't want to go. I just didn't want to go. If it was here in the States, okay, I didn't want to go to Italy. So I said, now my wife was working. My dad was downstairs. He lived with us. And I said, he'll say no because he had a lot of health issues and he needed me. So I remember telling my dad about it. And he was all excited. He said, yeah, let's go. I said, Dad, you don't understand. I said, the medical situation, the medical field, medical situation in Italy isn't the same as it is here. You know, it just isn't. He said, that's okay. We'll be fine. We'll go. I said, damn, okay. Then I said, well, my wife will say no because we're going to have a baby here in a few months. And I was working. My dad had a landscape business. So I was working. It isn't like I wasn't working. I was working with my dad, obviously. And I had owned the company by then, the business by then. So my wife comes home and I tell her, and she said, okay, let's go. I said, you don't understand. We're going to have to live there 10 months out of the year. Our kid's going to be born over there. And I don't want to leave you guys here and me be over there and just come back 2 months. She said, yeah, we'll go. I'm trying to talk her out of it, you know. And so I'll never forget. I just kept thinking and thinking and thinking. Then I went for a walk on a cold day in January at Three River Stadium where the dream all started, right? And I just walked around that building outside for like 2 or 3 hours. Just kept walking. And I came home and my dad said, where were you? And I told him I went for a walk at Three River Stadium. He said, you were thinking about that job, weren't you? I said, yeah. And he said something, Brittany, that sticks with me to this day. He said, if you have to think about an opportunity like that, that long, then it's not for you. And I just felt all these bricks off my shoulders. So I knew I was going to I had to call James. Right. And I knew he was going to tell me, okay, that's it. Thank you. Get lost. Good luck. Hang up the phone. And I was done. Because he's the only, I had hundreds of rejection letters, if they wrote me back at all, to major league teams, to minor league teams. I just wrote everybody. I think I even wrote you when you were just a kid. I wrote everybody, and everybody rejected me. And he responded, and he gave me the shot of a lifetime. And I thought he was just going to hang up. And I said, James, I appreciate it more than you know, and I thank you more than I can ever thank you, but I can't take the job. And he said, all right, how would you like to work for me? And I said, well, hell, that's what I wanted to do to begin with. So I've been with him ever since.
Wow.
The next year I was named as a professional scout. Next year I was general manager and scout. And from that job, so many other things have happened. And James is not just I work for him, or not just a friend. He's a brother to me. He's given me the opportunity of a lifetime, and I'll never forget that. But so that's that story.
Was he kind of thinking that all along about offering you that job as a second, like a replacement for the other job, or was that just something that he kind of thought up on a whim?
I think I never asked him that, but I think he needed that position filled. It was between me and another guy.
Right.
But I don't think he went into it like that. I think he was going to hire the other guy, and I was going to take the job in Italy. I threw a curveball at him, and then he, rest is history, as they say. But I made the right move. I really did. And he did too, because the other guy wasn't as good as I
was. You had mentioned kind of having these dips. So you had kind of down times in this career and even some off time where you were not really working as a coach, but doing something else. What were those experiences like? If if there's somebody that's experiencing kind of a downturn in their career right now, what types of things would you say to help get them through?
People thought I was buried, but I wasn't buried. I was planted. Everybody thought I was done. and I wasn't. I at times I thought I was too, but I just as corny or as plain as it sounds, I just didn't give up, and it was hard. It was hard because everybody else was making their money. Everybody else was on with their careers and on with their lives. And here I am chasing that carrot still. And I remember the day that we won that championship, October 8th, 1990. I was 25. And I remember looking at the stadium, and there was an architectural building. And in between, I'm crazy. I remember things like that. I was looking in between those two buildings, and I said, here I am, 25 years old, just won a collegiate championship my first year as a head coach. These teams are going to knock the doors down for me, right? And they didn't. It took me another 11 years to do something in professional baseball. And but I just, as down as I was, I bloomed again, planted. I bloomed where I was planted. The jobs that I had in coaching, I worked hard to be successful at them, and I didn't give up. And I still had goals to achieve those, dreams to achieve those goals. Now, I had a lot of motivation. Those people who were busting my chops, I wanted to show them. I wanted to make my dad proud of me. And my mom, unfortunately, she got sick in May, about 3 days after my last game as a high school coach. In '88, we found out that my mom had stomach cancer, and she was only 48. And you want to talk about a punch in the gut? She was fine. She's had ulcers, and all of a sudden turned into cancer. Yeah. But she fought like crazy, and it was for me, because my mom, both my parents adored me, but my mom was crazy about me. And I'll never forget Brittany when she passed. I remember, the podium or whatever that you sign your name, when you go to a funeral. I was standing there walking into the funeral, and this one relative of mine who was always on my case said to me, now it's really time to grow up and quit baseball. Now, what the hell that had to, I was at a funeral. My mom has passed away. Yeah. Yeah. And I ignored him. So I remember going to the casket and just looking at my mom and giving her a kiss. And that's the first time she never kissed me back. And I just, I was kneeling obviously on the thing, and my dad comes over to me, and I was in tears obviously. And he said, I know what you're thinking. And my dad was broken up too. My dad was devastated because his first wife passed at age 32. Then my mom passed at age 48. And I was the only child to my mom. He had two other kids to the first wife. But he grabbed my hand. He said, I know what you're thinking. He said, but you can't quit. He said, your mom, I'm getting emotional even thinking about it. And that was 32 years ago. He said, your mom, this was you achieving your goal was her goal. That was her dream. You can't quit. She didn't quit. She fought her fight. You have to keep fighting too. You have to keep trying. And Brittany, I tell you, as corny as it sounds, it's like the Rocky music hit, And I said, okay, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep at it. And I kept at it. And, and thank God, thank my parents, thank James and everybody else who hired me. Things went the way they did, but it was hell. It really was. So I tell anybody out there, you're going to go through hell. There's no question. I mean, you're not going to, some people might luck out and get the job that they want. Bang, everything's great. That wasn't the case for me. It was up and down, and people ridiculing you. You're not making the money that you'd like to make. You're not doing what you want to do, and everybody else is on their way to doing their things. And here I am, as I said, chasing that carrot. And my mom passes and all that. But I just didn't give up. I just kept at it. And there's nothing special about me other than I kept at it. I was persistent, and I didn't give up. I didn't make it as a player. Terrific. But there's other avenues to get those three letters next to my name. And it happened to be scouting. And then the coaching stuff came along, which I didn't accept. I mean, I'm coaching college, so I still am coaching college, obviously, but I have my cake and I eat it too. So I get to do pro baseball and college baseball. And let me say this too real quick. When I went to that first game, August 19th, 1973, last December, I was asked to speak at a youth group. And he said, Claudio, can you be here at 5? When? Today? Yeah, okay. What do you want me to talk about? He said, whatever you want. I said, geez, whatever I want. Thanks for the time to prepare, right? So it hit me on the way up. I said, there was a great story, and that title would be Things Can Happen in Life. When I went to that first game, August 19th, 1973, and you're going to get tired of hearing that date, but the starting pitcher, his name was Jim Rooker. Jim Rooker is a very good friend of mine, and I've played in celebrity golf tournaments with him, and he's done some scouting with our company. The first baseman's name was Al Oliver. Al Oliver and I were inducted into the same Hall of Fame in 2014 together. And we talk often. He's been on my podcast, as Jim has been. The second baseman's name is Rennie Stennett. Rennie and I are friends. He invited me to the 1979 Pirate World Series reunion last July. The left fielder's name was Willie Stargell, and I won a Willie Stargell Lifetime Achievement Award a few years ago. Now, if you'd have told me back then, as an 8-year-old kid, Claudio, come here, these things are going to happen. Do you see that guy who's pitching? You know, because these guys, you got to remember, they were like, you know, bigger than life. Okay, they were stars. You know, they were professional baseball players, right? But if you'd have told me back then that these things would have happened to me, I said, you're crazy. But they did happen. And that's what I mean by, you know, magic can happen. Things can happen in life. And so I urge anybody, you know, it's not going to be a straight line. There's going to be a lot of dips. But don't look at yourself as being buried, just like when I left Duquesne University or when I didn't get the jobs I wanted. I wasn't buried. And I had some bad people that I had to deal with. I wasn't buried, as Joel Osteen, the guy who's on TV, the preacher who's on TV, he said, you're not buried, you're planted. So I'd like to think I was planted and just, you know, was determined, motivated by several things. And here I am talking to you on this wonderful show.
Well, I love the idea of kind of that openness and flexibility that you have, kind of taking every opportunity for what it is, and then also giving your all at every opportunity, even if it's not exactly the one that you wanted. So being open to any experience that kind of comes your way and being flexible to switch and pivot. So even if it wasn't your original dream of being in professional baseball as a player, you still got to be in the world in that experience because you were flexible and open to different ways of achieving that goal.
Well, it's funny you say that. One of my best friends, Rick Mitchell, I remember calling him when I was offered the Quigley job. I remember I wasn't coaching anywhere. And I said, Rick, I got an opportunity to coach at Quigley, but they're only going to pay me $800. And it is a very small school, you know, so from Division I to coaching at Quigley, and you have your eyes set on professional baseball, that's a long way off. So he said pretty much what you said. You know what? You're not doing anything now. So at least you'll be in that world. At least you'll be coaching. And who knows what can happen from there. And my dad said, yeah, you should do it. And my wife said, yeah, of course, do it. And I took it. And I tell you what, the guy who hired me, his name was Ed Driscoll. Wonderful guy, big guy, but he was such a nice man and tough guy. And I enjoyed every second with those players and with Coach Driscoll at Quigley. And then, like I said, then I got my break in 2001. But I was just determined. I coached there from 99 to 2000. And I just, as corny as it sounds, I just was not going to give up. I couldn't. Just didn't have it in me.
Right. And that sounds like the perfect skill for a coach.
Well, yeah, because you have to relay that to your team. And, you know, one of my players, Tyler Scanlon, I'll never forget, we played a game in 2019, and we were getting beat pretty bad. But I remember him saying something to the guys, and we have this in my book, and I didn't think he remembered it, but he said it. He said, hey, guys, let's do something that we can tell our grandkids about. That's something I always tell my players. If we're down a lot, let's do something crazy. Let's win this game. This is a story we can tell our grandkids about. And I always tell my players, if we're down 10, let's score 11. If we're up 10, let's score 11. In other words, just keep going at it in life, not just in coaching, or not just on the field, but off the field. Just go at it. because if you let your guard down a little bit, you're done. And life is hard. I tell my daughter all the time, I thank God I have a good life. I have a great life, and I'm blessed. And I thank God. I thank my parents and my family and everybody who makes it great. I thank them. But you know what, Brittany, it's been hell too. It's been hell too. And I'm no different than anybody else. Everybody's gone through hell, be it, a personal issue or somebody passing or financial or job situation or health, whatever. But you just have to, you have two choices. Either Jim Valvano, again, used to say, I can guarantee you that if you quit, if you don't work hard, you're going to fail. But if you do work hard, I can't guarantee that you're going to succeed, but I can guarantee that your chances for succeeding will improve. So, again, I just kept going at it. And I will always, even, I'm grateful to be doing what I'm doing, but I always feel I can do more. I always feel I can do more. And like, I wrote a book, as I mentioned. I want to do even more than that. Okay, the book's good, but I want to do even more things. I do some TV shows. That's great. I want to do even more, and just keep accomplishing. I just want to keep accomplishing things because I'm never satisfied. I always feel I'm pleased with. I'm happy the fact that I'm doing these things and I soak it in and I enjoy it. But I always feel I can do more. I'm always trying to get that next number, so to speak.
And I'm glad you brought up your book again, because I wanted to ask how that came about. How did you decide to write a book?
I always wanted to write a book. It was more of an autobiography thing to share my story, but I still have a lot more story to go yet. So I'm not going to do it just yet, but I seen a lot of, it kind of almost started in 1993. We were in, and I opened the book with this story. It was a back and forth game. I was at the community college, Beaver County. It was a back and forth game. We were winning. The other team was winning. We were winning. Finally, we win the game. And it was just a regular season game. But the players came over to me, congratulations, coach, or give me a hug, high fives. And I'll never forget, I went to my the locker room that day, and I said, and I was drained, as I said earlier, but why is it that these players play so hard for me? Why is it that they try so hard? Why is it that they care about me? Why is it that they like me? And the one word that hit me was that I was approachable and that I care. Two things. I was approachable and that I care for them. And not to criticize other coaches, because everybody does their own thing, but I looked at other programs and I heard stories from other programs. And I see how my team is. And I've seen my players, how they react to me. And during that same game, there was an argument on the other dugouts with the other team, with players and coaches. And I said, you know what? And I also have some friends that work different places, different businesses, and they're perhaps not treated as well as they deserve to be treated or should be treated. So I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book about it. And the book is called Lead from the Heart Up, Not the Neck Up: How to Create a Positive Winning Culture on the Field and in the Office. And I got the title from my mom. My mom used to say, never speak from the neck up, speak from the heart up. Don't be fake. Care about what you're saying. Be passionate about it, and mean what you say. So my players know that and Dick Vermeil, he's a Super Bowl winning coach for the St. Louis Rams and an NFL legend. He was just on my show last week. And he used to say that people won't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And my players know that I care for them. They know that I'm concerned with them more first as people than as baseball players. And so I wanted to write a book on that and try to help other leaders, not just baseball coaches or sports coaches, but businessmen, people who own companies, CEOs, whatever. And it was important for me to get my word across. And then so the book is basically formatted. The first part of the book are stories of some tough things that I had to go through with some people who I worked with. And then a few mistakes that I made as a coach. Then the second part of the book, the middle part of the book, are a ton of great questions and answers, which pretty much covers everything in the leadership topic. I was fortunate enough to get a lot of questions that I answered. And the last part of the book, as I said, were testimonials for about 25 former players And it shows that my formula, for the lack of a better term, or the way I treat my players works. It works because we've won games. We've won some conference championships. We've won championships. We've had some tough seasons. But these players care for me. I just spoke with, I'd say, 5 of them that I haven't coached in years, just in the past couple of days. And one of my best friends, Vince Kaplak and Nick Kaplak, they're brothers. I coached Vinny in 88, Nick in 89, and they're brothers to me. And so the way and I'm not sitting here patting myself on the back, but I'm just telling you how I do things works. And I was
Yeah.
I was glad that some people that read the book said that, you know what, I didn't kind of do that with my employees, but I'm doing that now, and I can see a difference. And when I read that, I said, wow, that just meant a lot to me. And so hopefully it will help some people.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely applicable to more areas, like you were saying, because even in my profession as a college educator, it's the same. We need that same approachability, that same care. If we don't treat students as people first, then they're not going to perform well, or at least at the level that maybe we want them to perform. So I can see how that translates to every career pretty much, I would imagine.
It does. I mean, it really does. I can't think of one that doesn't. I mean, for example, there were some places that I worked. I remember I would have to be at this one particular place at 3. There was this one place at 3 o'clock, and I would look at my watch, and 2:59, I'd go through the door because I wasn't crazy about the guy that I was working with at this one particular hitting facility. And I don't want my players to look at their watch and say, oh, man, it's 6 o'clock. I got to go see Claudio. Nor do I want to say that about them. And just like, hopefully not you, but I know I have some people that when on my phone on caller ID and they're calling, I say, oh, man, I don't want to hear from these people, you know? And I don't want my name to appear on a caller ID, or you're going to come see me or practice for me or play for me. So, oh, man, I got to go see Claudio. But at the same time, and again, I illustrate this in the book, you know, it isn't that I would never in a zillion years let anybody walk on me. I would never let the place be chaos. Never. I tell my players what I expect, and they better follow those lines, okay, or rules. And if I need to get upset, then I'm going to get upset. And I tell them the punishment isn't going to fit the crime. I can't take anybody mouthing off to me, disrespecting me, or not caring about our team / program. And that's just how it is. And I've been lucky to have great, great players. I told somebody today, think about this. I'm one of the few coaches. I don't ever remember having a problem with a parent. I just have been I'm so grateful to have had the type of people that I've had to coach. And some people may look at our team, especially at Carnegie Mellon, it's a different ballgame at Carnegie Mellon, pardon the pun. It's a very high academic school, and these guys are there for school, and they're playing ball because they love to play. One story that I've included in the book is we had to drive to an away game. It was about an hour and a half away. So I'm there early as always, but I'm the only one at the field. No players, no team, just me. My wife and daughter were in the stands. So this team that we played, we always lost to them by 1 run. They were a big-time program, and they should have killed us, but they didn't because we were pretty tough. But every year we would lose to them. So I really wanted to win this game, right? And the fans were saying, look at that coach. He's there by himself. His players don't respect him. His players don't like him. This is going to be a quick game. It's going to be a blowout game, a 10-run rule. We'll be out of here pretty soon. We're going to kill them. And there I am all by myself, right? Then 3 of my players show up, half dressed, untucked and all that. They said, Coach, we're sorry we're late. We got stuck in traffic. I said, okay, great. Go get dressed. Let's get started. Okay. 3 more would come. Coach, I'm sorry. We stopped for breakfast and we hit traffic. I know. Hurry up. Get going. Now, we only had like 20 minutes before the game would start. Okay, something like that. So here comes my team like Noah's Ark coming in at threes, right? So we end up winning. And there's the other team lined up in their white uniforms perfectly doing calisthenics like a machine. I mean, they were just – the coach was walking – coach is a great guy, a friend of mine. He's walking back and forth, and they're organized and look great. Here's my guys, half dressed, untucked, late, barely warming up. We won the game 8-0. And I told my guys, and the fans came up to me and said, "Man, your players really like you. That we could see they were hugging you. They care for you." I said, "Well," I told my guys at the end, and I was emotional. I said, "I'm gonna tell you something. You guys drive me nuts, but there's not a team in the world I'd rather have other than you guys." And so, you can, in real estate, Brittany, they say the three most important things are location, location, location. Well, the three most important things in business and really in life are good people, good people, good people. If you have good people, man, you got a shot to really accomplish big things. And I've been lucky. Again, turtle on top of a fence post. I've been lucky to have good people.
And when you decided to write the book, was it like a scary process at all? Or did you just kind of jump right in knowing that you like to just kind of attack things? Or did you have to kind of think about it first? How did that go?
Wrote it from the heart up. Didn't use my fingers. Wrote it from the heart up. I just let it out. I just wanted to tell some stories. There was some stories that I wanted to include. And it was, to be honest with you, it was easy. Now, looking back on some things that I went through wasn't easy. Kind of scratching that wound, that scab, that was hard. But no, it wasn't hard at all. I mean, I just let it flow. And, it was kind of fun to write. And I'm glad people are enjoying it. And hopefully it's helping them. I've heard a few people say that it's helping them. And but no, it wasn't that hard. I mean, you know what it is? At first, even when I write a letter to somebody, once I get started, I pour it all out, right? But then when I'm done with it, I'm drained. Okay. Again, my mom used to say, "Lead from the heart, right. Talk from the heart up." And I'm Italian. I'm emotional, so I pour myself on that paper, and or that letter or that book. And then the next day when you have to start it up again, it takes a little bit of get going. But once I got the momentum going, it was fine. And I enjoyed it.
Good. And then kind of lastly, if you were able to give advice to somebody who wanted a career similar to yours, who wanted to be either in baseball or pro sports at some level, what is kind of that biggest piece of advice you might give them if they're just starting out?
I can tell you what I did, and that is just contact everybody under the sun. There was an old show on TV, a very popular sitcom. It was called Sanford and Son. And it was a very funny show, but Fred, the father, told the son, that they were talking about something. He said, "Son, opportunity doesn't always knock. So sometimes you have to call him up and invite him over." So that's what I did. I was aggressive. I contacted people because not everybody's going to say, "Oh yeah, I just won a championship." People are going to bust the doors down for me. No, there's a ton of people who won college championships. You have to let people know you're alive. So let people know you're alive. Figure out, number one, what it is you want to do, and be good at it. Be good at it. I'm at the risk of sounding funny about it. I'm damn good at coaching baseball. Now you have to have the horses. Okay, but I know what I'm talking about. I'm good at it. I've been doing it ever since I was a little kid. I better be good at it, right? But be good at what you do. Have a passion for it. Then, and whatever it is, like if you want to be a restaurant owner, figure out, get role models. See who else accomplished what you have accomplished. Okay, be motivated by that, and just go after it. Start off as a cook, then move up to a chef. Figure out the business. Or if you want to own your own business, work in that world for a little while, see how things operate. You may agree with a lot of what the owner does. You may not agree with everything. Then you can shape and put your own spin on things. So know what you're doing. Okay. Then, but if you want to be in sports, you talk about sports, contact everybody under the sun. I mean, you don't know who's going to say yes, who's going to give you that interview. And that's all you want. You're not asking somebody to just give you a job blindly. You want that interview so you can sell yourself, so you can present yourself and who you are and how you can help that school or that organization. So be good at what you do, be passionate about it. And, it was depressing. I'm not going to lie to you. I would get rejection after rejection if they wrote me at all. And it was always the same thing. Thank you for your interest in the Dodgers, but the position you are currently applying for is already being filled. We will keep your name on our file. Best in baseball, which means what? They threw it in the garbage, probably, right? Because none of them ever called me back. But the one guy did. So it's like you're throwing a bunch of popcorn in the air, hoping that one kernel lands in your mouth. Now, once you get that kernel, you have to make damn sure you make it count. Okay. I made it count. I just wanted that opportunity. So I would say be passionate, work hard, be good at what you do, be damn good at what you do, and just contact everybody under the sun. Have a list of things. And so, okay, I contacted this guy, contacted that, contact the right people, the decision makers. Okay. Back then, the internet was just kind of starting. Okay. Now, here it is right here. Just bang on the keys and you're there. Right. And so, and just keep at it, be persistent. And, and if you can't go through the wall, underneath it, go sideways, over top of it, but get to the other side. And, like I said, there's nothing special about me other than I was persistent. I had a dream and a goal. I had reasons to achieve those dreams and goals. And I'm glad things went the way they did. And like I said, and from there, I told you I'm not happy. I didn't want to just do the one thing. Okay, I'm coaching college baseball at Carnegie Mellon University. Just finished my 15th year. Love it. Going into my 16th year. Going into my 20th year scouting. Love it. But I host a TV boxing show. I co-host a sports show here in Pittsburgh called Steel City Sports World with two great guys, Luther Dupree and Smoking Jim Frazier. And then you don't know who else can help you. Through Smoking Jim Frazier, I met him one time at a boxing match that I was announcing, or I was writing for a website, and Jim got me this TV gig and got me another TV gig and introduced me to that guy, and I've done some things for him. So you don't know who can help you. And then my podcast. So I do a bunch of things, and I'm blessed and grateful to be doing them. So don't just achieve something and put your hands behind your head, your feet up on the desk. Keep accomplishing, keep going after things. And I've been fortunate so far, and I'm going to keep at it.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that really makes life more fun too, is to keep trying to get to the next thing, even if it's slightly different, because otherwise you're just kind of sitting.
Exactly. And you hit it right on the head. I mean, obviously you don't want to just try or just keep going. You do want to catch that carrot eventually, but you want to enjoy the journey as much as possible. And I tried to, and like I said, it was hell. I'm not going to sit here and say it was fun and games, because it wasn't. Because you don't know if you're ever going to catch that carrot. And just keep going after it. It sounds simplistic, but as I say, genius is in its simplicity. Don't make it harder than it already is. And I just kept going after it and going after it. And my mom, every time I'd leave the house, she would give me a hug and a kiss, and she'd tell me in Italian, show them your courage. Show them your courage. Mostra coraggio tua. Show them your courage. And in other words, if something bad happens, be courageous, be tough, and keep going. And that's what I try to do. And that's what I encourage my team to do. And that's what I encourage, my daughter, my friend, everybody who listens to me, because things aren't going to be smooth. Things aren't going to be easy. And you just have to keep going at it.
Definitely. Well, that's great. Where can people find you? I know we'll link to your book on Amazon, on our social media, but are there any other places that people can find you if they want to follow up?
Yes, they can go to my website. It's ClaudioReilsono.com, ClaudioReilsono.com. Then on my Twitter is at Claudio Reilsono, and those are the best places to get me.
Perfect. And again, we'll link all that on our social media as well. So thank you so much,
Brittany.
For being on.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Career Journey Podcast. Head over to our website at careerjourneypodcast.com for more information and the latest episodes. See you next time.